Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase and this is All Things Rome. Today we are talking about the Omega Speedmaster and the Pagani design in a side-by-side comparison. Now finally, the video is here, a side-by-side comparison of the Pagani design Homage Speedmaster and the Omega Speedmaster. Now the Omega Speedmaster I have is more of a vintage Speedmaster. However, I think the side-by-side comparison, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the materials used, is actually sort of a fair comparison. Now, I also go into the fact that, yes, different materials for the newer Speedmasters are out there, but we're also talking about price comparisons. Price comparison being this vintage Speedmaster goes for anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, and the brand new Speedmasters go for $6,200, and this Pagani design is only $120. Anyway, that being said, let's hop right in to the video. When looking at these two watches side by side, it's clear that the Pagani design gets its entire aesthetic from the Omega Speedmaster. Now, this is from the hard lines of the case to include the case shape, the similar finishes to include brushed and high polished, and even that bezel lip right there that you see. It is almost identical. The Pagani design is a near duplicate to the Speedmaster. Now the size of the Omega is the exact as the Pagani design, coming in at 42 millimeters. Now that being said, they both wear a lot smaller at 40 millimeters. Honestly, when you put it on your wrist, it's easy to see that it does wear smaller than 42 millimeters. Now the bezel on the Omega is a steel bezel, which honestly, in the newer models, the equivalent is the same as the Pagani design, which is a sapphire bezel. Now, this material as the bezel is slightly controversial when it comes to those hardcore watch enthusiasts. Now, as the materials get better, the watches are going to look newer for longer, and this is why in some camps of watch enthusiasts you have both the hardcore vintage watch enthusiasts and you have the brand new, I want my watch to look new all the time. Here's where the modern materials will make things look newer for longer. Something like a sapphire bezel is going to make that bezel look brand new for almost ever, as opposed to the standard steel and aluminum bezels that fade over time. The paint chips away, the paint fades, and it sort of just gains its own characteristic. Now inside the Omega is the caliber 861. This is a Swiss-made manual wind movement with subdials that offer minutes and hours when using that chronograph function. Inside the Pagani design is a little different. It is the Seiko Mega Quartz movement, and this sort of gives you the best of both worlds, with the luxury of never having to change the time because it is technically a quartz movement, and it does have a battery that's basically going to last you about 2 to 3 years, but it still has the look and feel of a mechanical watch when you hit that pusher at the 2 o'clock, because that second counter hand does tick at 5 ticks a second, so it gives you sort of like an in-between feel. Now the dials on the Pagani design are less function over aesthetics. This is sort of sad, but they did what they could with what they had. One of the subdials is the seconds at the 6 o'clock, then a 24-hour indicator at the 3 o'clock, and then a minutes indicator at the 9 o'clock. This means this watch only is useful for about an hour when using that time and function. Whereas the Omega instead has a seconds at the 9 o'clock position, then a minutes counter at the 3, then an hour indicator at the 6. This gives the Omega 12 hours and 59 minutes of timing for its chronograph function. Now the overall look is the same, with the Pagani design also boasting a date between the 4 and 5 o'clock position, whereas the Omega does not. The layout of the cheaper Pagani design definitely gives you the look of the Omega, but offers less functionality in my opinion. Now over the dial, the Omega is basically a piece of plexiglass or plastic. Now this is easy to scratch, but it offers far more impact resistance, so it's not going to shatter. The Pagani design, however, has a piece of domed sapphire, which means it has extremely hard surface, so it makes it extremely hard to scratch. So that's good for the scratch resistance, but it can shatter if it's dropped from a high enough distance. Now I've seen sapphire crystals shatter at just 1 or 2 feet, but it has to land perfectly. Other than that, day to day, it's going to stay scratch resistant forever. Now the Omega's crystal really isn't an issue because a little bit of poly wash is going to take out most scratches and it's going to look brand new all the time. It can easily be buffed out, so it's not really an issue. Now, the braces on these watches are not going to be judged because there wasn't one offered on the Omega as opposed to the Pagani design. So instead, we'll look at both watches on these extremely high quality, in fact, I would say the best quality handmade vintage leather straps from a company near and dear to my heart, Chase Straps. Yes, Chase Straps, my very own personal watch strap brand. In fact, the website is linked down below. It's not up and running just yet. It will in a few weeks. Now, the Pagani design is on a coffee brown, while the Omega is on the elephant gray. These things just look amazing and the quality is out of this world. Now, clearly these watches are very similar at different price points. The Omega, a Swiss-made manual wind, this vintage style specifically is around $2,500 to $3,000, and of course this model is used, whereas the brand new one comes in at about $6,200. Whereas the Pagani design is only $120 on Amazon, shipped to your house, 2-day shipping. Now, the Pagani design also boasts a water resistance of 100 meters to the 50 meters of the Omega. Now, even the newer models of the Omega are only 50 meters, which kind of depresses me a little bit because if the Pagani design can offer 100, why not the Omega? Now, I don't know if this is because the Pagani design has a mega quartz movement and that really deals with the functionality of the water resistance, but you know, guys, let me know down in the comments below. I'm not a watchmaker, so I just don't understand why the Pagani design has a better water resistance than the Omega, which is far more expensive and has been around for way longer. Now, overall, I think the Pagani design gives a really good reason for why the Homage watches are useful. Honestly, it has the feel, the size, the look, and it does have most of the functionality at a fraction of the cost. Honestly, I think the toughness of the sapphire crystal, the reliability of the mega quartz is sort of like a good in-between when you're looking for a tester watch if you want the more expensive Omega in the future. I would say this is more like a trial run. Now, honestly, I think it's extremely easy to justify spending $120 to try a watch out on your wrist as opposed to spending $2,000 to $3,000 or over $6,000 for a brand new Omega and finding that you just don't like it. And I say that because in the past, I did a video where I told people why I do not like the Tudor Black Bay. In fact, I spent $4,000 on a Tudor Black Bay. There are no authorized dealers up here in Alaska, so I ordered it online. This is one of the watches I really lusted after, I really loved, and honestly, I got it, I put it on the wrist, I wore it for a few weeks. I really loved it at first, you know, it's that honeymoon phase, and then I realized I wasn't wearing it. I didn't like it because it was extremely bulky. I think it was 15 millimeters in thickness, so it is a bulky watch, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way the bracelet was, not necessarily the bracelet, but I didn't like the clasp. I didn't like the thickness of it. I mean, it was really nice because I love the Tudor brand and some of the things that they're doing. I just wish that model, I would have bought an Homage, like a Parnis or a Benyar or a Pagani design and worn that for a while and really decided if I liked that watch or not. In fact, I built my own Homage of a Panerai, and I thought I really liked that Panerai look, but honestly, once I built the Homage and I wore it for a couple weeks, I really haven't ever worn it since. And it's funny because I was excited in the beginning with that sort of honeymoon phase, and then I just realized I didn't like it at all, and I haven't worn it since. It sits in my watch box, and the only reason I haven't gotten rid of it is because I built it myself. So honestly, I think Homages do have a place. Now, a lot of people would argue that they are one step away from a replica. You know, they really do. A true Homage gets almost all of its styling, designs, and aesthetics to include its measurements and its dial placement and its hands placement and everything else from the original model that it is an homage from. However, the difference between an homage and a replica is the fact that the homage may have the same styling, but it's not pretending to be the luxury equivalent. It doesn't say Rolex on it, so it doesn't make people think it's a Rolex. So honestly, there is a fine line. A lot of people, like when it comes to the aging watches and having brand new looking watches, you know, there are two camps of people who love Homages and hate Homages because they think they're basically like replicas. Honestly, don't ever buy a replica, but I would always recommend buying an Homage first because it's going to save you so much money in the future. And I know a lot of people who watch this channel are not wealthy like myself. I am just a humble lower to middle class guy who can't afford to spend a whole lot of money on watches, even though that's my passion. Anyway, what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Now, if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment of the content you guys would like to see on this channel. I have a lot of videos coming up in the future. The next video that's going to be released in a couple days is going to be of my brand new car. What did I buy? That's 485 horsepower. It is the first brand new car I've bought basically ever in my life, and I am rounding 38. So I'm really excited about that car. Also, a company sent me a GPS system for vehicles. And it's funny because I didn't realize I was going to buy a brand new car until I got this GPS system. And then I started thinking maybe I should get a brand new car. I should treat myself to something that I really want because I work hard for my money, like I'm sure you guys work hard for your money. So the video after that will be the GPS system for a vehicle. Then I got my Cartier ladies tank I'm going to do a review on. I got some Cadison watches here on the desk, and I have so much more to include. Well, I mentioned chase straps in this video. Well, what's going on with that? I am going to be doing a video in about 2 weeks because currently I'm building the website and I have a massive inventory here in my YouTube studio and office and bedroom. And honestly, we're going to get that thing up and running, and I'll do a video when that website is up and running. I am going to link it down below simply because I'm going to start linking it in every single video so that if the video is seen in the past and it's already up and running, people can go to that if they're interested in the watch straps. Now, make sure you guys are hitting that notification bell because I have a lot of videos coming up in the future, and I will see you in the next one.